Hello everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how to do a chunky glitter with your pop of color on a tumbler. So today we're using Cherry Tomato Pop of Color Shock Paint and Neat Heat Chunky Glitter from Counterculture. I'm going over it with this cup that I stripped that I did not like before, and so we're going to turn it into a really pretty fall cup. So we're going in with these colors because I think it would make for a perfect fall tumbler. So we're using Neat Heat, Chunky Glitter, and Cherry Tomato Pop of Color Shock Paint. So I'm going to be using a makeup brush to apply my paint. I really love these brushes, they just hold a lot of paint, so I'm going to shake up my paint before we go ahead and throw that on there. That way it is nice and thoroughly mixed. I give it a little tap so nothing is dripping all over. And so we're going to go ahead and give a very generous amount of paint to this tumbler. The brush, like I said, holds a lot of paint on it, so we don't have to dip too many times. I am going to open up my bag and just get it ready so it's ready to pour when we are ready to add our glitter. So here I am, like I said, just adding that paint to my tumbler. I do a nice generous coat since I'm using it as my, not only my base color, but also my adhesive for my glitter. So even though it looks like I'm using a lot, I'm really not. I'm just doing a very thin dip when I dip my brush into the paint. The brush just holds a lot of paint, so it is perfect. And you can see we're getting really good coverage with this paint. And so we're going to keep coating that until it's ready to be glittered. So now that I got a nice thick coat of my Cherry Tomato Pop of Color, I am going in with my Neat Heat Chunky Glitter. I like to start at the bottom and move my way up to the top. If you are not a fan of chunky glitters for the bottom and the very top edge of your cup, you can always pick a matching fine glitter and put it just at the very bottom and the very bottom rim, and then you can do it on the top rim as well. And then fill in the rest of your cup with the chunky glitter. That's another little hack. So we're just coating this really well. And then when we're done, we have a couple little tricks to make sure that it flattens out for us. I do like to tap off any excess glitter using a pair of scissors, just lightly tapping the rim of the cup to make sure we get anything off that would just fly off anyways when we are drying the cup off. What I'm going to do now is just kind of use my finger to go along the top edge and tap that glitter down a little bit. That way it's not peeking over the edge of the cup, otherwise this is going to be harder to get off later. So you can see I'm just going in and doing that. And then what I will do is I will kind of tap around the entire cup lightly. You want to do this very gently because your paint is still wet and you do not want to brush off any of the actual glitter itself. So I really make sure I focus on the bottom and the edges of the cup, and then I'll go through and do as much as I can on the actual cup itself before moving on to the next step. So now we're actually going to use that parchment paper that we were using. It's okay that you still have some glitter on there. And I like to gently roll the cup along the parchment paper to get as much of it flattened as possible. So we're just rolling that back and forth a little bit. And then after that, we're actually going to wrap the cup in the parchment paper. And again, you want to do this gently because your paint is still wet, but you can still go ahead and do this. If anything comes off, we just fill in those little bits a little bit. You'll see I had that happen, and all I do is I just go back in and I touch up those little spots with a little bit of extra glitter. it will not affect the final outcome. So you can see I'm still making sure I tap any of that extra glitter down. And then I saw that one little spot that I needed to fix. So I'm just going in, adding a little bit more glitter, and then we will continue on with the process. So now that we have our glitter laid down perfectly the way we want it to, I just like going in with a heat gun, and that's going to dry up that paint and make this all dry so we can finish this off before we are ready to epoxy it. So now that it is all dry, we're going to go in with a quick coat to seal the glitter in really well before we're ready to epoxy it. And this is where that easy pour lid really comes into handy, because you can just squeeze some of the quick coat on there and get rocking and rolling. So I'm going to go in with a kind of soft Tack-On brush, and I'm just going to squeeze some lines onto the cup itself and smooth that all around until I have the entire cup coated in quick coat. So by doing this step, it is going to help make sure you get a smoother finish faster. So I can do a chunky glitter cup in 3 coats, whereas if you don't seal it with quick coat, sometimes it could take an extra coat or 2 to make sure you get it all smoothed out. And so I actually did end up epoxying this after I filmed this video, after I let the quick coat sit, and it only took 15 ml for this 20-ounce tumbler to put a very nice generous coat on, because the quick coat helped to seal in that glitter, so the glitter wasn't just absorbing the epoxy. And so here's the cup after it got its full quick coat, and then we just let this fully dry before we are able to epoxy it. And then you'll see right after this, I do show what it looks like after it's epoxied. So if we give this a go, make sure you share in the Counterculture DIY support group. And if you are purchasing anything that I showed here, you can use code Kaelee for a discount. I hope this helps, and I cannot wait to see what you create.